Welcome back to our live training session here with our K24 swapped Honda Civic Si. This tutorial we're going to be focusing on getting the engine to fire up and run and doing our cruise idle area type of tuning on our 0 degree VTC fuel and spark timing tables. We have a lot to cover here, so let's jump in so we can check this out. Welcome back to our live training session here with our K24 swapped Civic Si. The last tutorial we built our base file. This tutorial we're going to go ahead and upload this base file to the Kpro, do a basic sensors check, and then we're going to go through and make sure we change a few things to the base file. I'm going to talk about that here in the very beginning of the tutorial, and then we're going to go through, we're going to fire up the engine, allow it to come up to operating temperature, and then we're going to take a look at the calibration process for tuning fuel and spark timing at idle, part throttle, wide open throttle for the 0 degree cam angle pairing. So we have fuel and spark timing tables associated from 0 to 50 degrees. We're going to learn how to calibrate the 0 degree in this tutorial because this is a basis for all the other tables. If we've dialed this table in 100%, nailed everything down, we're going to find that we can use that into the 10 degree, and then we can tweak things in the 10 degree, move that into the 20. So the 0 degree is going to be our starting point, and you'll find that any engine you're going to be calibrating and tuning, whether it's going to have stock cams, big cams, naturally aspirated, force induction, whatever the case may be, this process will be the same. You always want to start off on your 0 degree low cam table first, get everything running, get everything sorted out, and then move forward in the calibration process. The next tutorial, we're going to learn how to go through the rest of the low cam mapping, going through all the variable cam angle tables, and then learning how to do a composite blend for low cam, and then we'll move into the high cam. But we want to take things one step at a time. So this is the next step after building the base file, uploading it, and doing a basic sensor check. Now, what we're going to do here, I'm going to go ahead and I have the base cal that we saved in that last tutorial. It's the file name that I've saved it as. I'm going to go ahead and call this something different. So I'm going to go in here to File, and I'm going to go to Save As, and just save this in my folder as a different name. That way I can go back to the base file if I need to, like if I'm doing something here in the calibration process I'm not happy with and I want to go take a step backwards. This gives me the ability to go backwards in the calibration process. It's always good to give yourself a way that you can go backwards and take small steps back. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and call this file, I'll call this low cam 0 degree. Oh, there we go. Spell that right. Here we go. 0 degree. And click save. So now that we've saved the file, we need to go and edit it real quick. And there's two things I want to go ahead and talk about that we need to go and change that we didn't cover in the last tutorial. Now, the more I thought about this as we built our fuel and spark timing tables in the last tutorial, I think I'm going to go about this and actually reduce the timing even further than what we have as already conservative spark timing. Now, because this engine has aftermarket pistons and rods and valve train and aftermarket stiffer mounts, it's going to pick up a lot of extra noise in the engine, specifically on the knock sensor. That can create a lot of problems for us, specifically if we're trying to tune the spark timing and we're finding that we're getting all this noise in the knock sensor that is false. It's actually not real knock. It's going to cause us to be very overly cautious with our spark timing and trying to pull it out and really making the engine suffer in its power output when we may actually just be picking up noise, specifically when you have a lot of aftermarket parts inside the engine. So what I'm going to do here is actually retard the timing even further than what we've already configured it in columns 7, 8, 9, and 10. Those are the higher load columns. That's going to be where we essentially go into high load, high throttle, full throttle situations, as we'll look here later in the tutorial doing our mapping. I want to go and bump that timing down about another 8 to 10 degrees. I want to go in low timing so that we can take a look at what the knock control is doing, how the knock sensitivity table looks in terms of the knock count that it's going to be producing when we're doing our pull. If we're able to reduce the timing pretty heavily and do baseline pulls where we know we're not going to have knock or pre-ignition, this is high compression as well, so that's adding to the mix here. We want to see where the actual true knock threshold is for the table. So if we go in with low spark timing, we've reduced our cylinder pressure, we're coming in very conservative, we should not have knock. Even though this is approximately 12.5 to 1 compression and we are on pump gas right now, we shouldn't find with really low timing that we have knock activity. So if we're starting off low timing and we're seeing that it produces knock count, then we know we need to go after the sensitivity tables, adjust those so we get a no knock count, and then slowly sneak the spark timing in until we see a knock event happen, and then we'll stop and back the timing back a little bit. That's always the best approach here for tuning and working with your spark timing tables and your knock sensor, especially when you have all this aftermarket parts that we're dealing with for this car. The second thing we're going to go and take a look at here is setting up our onboard data logging. Now, I'm on a Kpro V4 board here. There's 4 generations of Kpros, And this is the version 4 that allows flex fuel control and the closed loop control from the wideband O2 sensor. So it has a lot of advantages for the V4. One of the big advantages that I haven't talked about in any other live training tutorials, this is something I wasn't looking at maybe a year or two ago, the last time I filmed a Kpro Live Training, is the onboard logging capability with the Kpro V4. It has the capability to log 100 hertz or 100 samples per second. When we're laptop data logging, we're only getting about 10 hertz or 10 samples per second. That's a huge difference in the resolution and looking at sensor data. And when we're looking at a fast-moving channel, such as our knock control, for example, we're gonna miss a lot of things happening with the knock sensor reading and the knock sensor output, the voltage output, as we're trying to evaluate, let's say, knock control. We're gonna miss a lot of data if we're not sampling at 100 hertz and we're sampling at 10 hertz. So we're actually gonna be doing ourselves a disadvantage sampling at that lower laptop logging rate. So I'm gonna go in and turn the onboard logging on, very simple to do that, and just pre-configure some conditions so that when we go full throttle, it is going to actually log and everything will work and function properly. It is an extra step because we'll laptop data log and then we'll have to download the onboard data logs when we're doing this whole process. It adds a little bit more time, but it is more accurate in terms of looking at fast-moving data, such as a wheel speed sensor or knock control, specifically the knock output from the knock sensor. We can get a real good idea of what's going on. So this is something you probably want to do if you have a Kpro V4. If you don't have the version 4, well, the logging option isn't available, and you might consider upgrading to the version 4 because it does have a lot faster onboard logging than the laptop logging or the previous older versions of Kpro. So Kpro version 1, 2, and 3, they're not able to log at that faster logging rate. Let's jump in here and take a look at modifying the spark timing table and then also then modifying and turning on the onboard logging. We'll upload this to the ECU and they'll do a basic sensor check. Let's jump in and take a look. So I have my calibration file open here on screen. What I'm going to do here is jump in. We're on the 0 degree on the low cam. So we see we have a 1 and a 2. 1 is low cam, 2 is high cam. We actually want to jump.
Thanks for checking out our teaser clip. If you want to see the rest of this video and more than 500 hours of current EFI training we have to offer, make sure you click right here. If you want to go and check out more teaser clips from this training course, click here. And you don't want to miss any of the videos we're going to be releasing on this channel, so make sure you subscribe and click here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.